Revolution is like Saturn. It devours its own children. George Buckner. Hello everyone, and welcome to Secrets of Saturn. I am Jason Lindgren, your host. On tonight's episode, we have Santos Bonacci. For over 30 years, Santos has been researching the ancient works, compiling and translating them into more accessible terms in his study of astrotheology. Santos lives in Melbourne, Australia, where he presents regular seminars and webinars on demand. He also has presented lectures and workshops around the world. Hello and welcome to the show, Santos.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Yep.
All right. Do you want to talk a little bit about who you are and your past work before we get into our subjects for tonight?
Okay, well, I'm just the average Australian-type individual, really, on one level. Grew up in country Victoria, Australia, with Italian migrated parents from southern Italy. And so what was unique, I guess, if there was anything unique about the way I grew up, was that it was I was bilingual. We spoke English and Calabrian. So really my first language was Calabrian, and that is a dialect of Italian. That was pretty unique. That sort of gave me the energies and dynamics of my life now. Language, the fact that I was understanding and speaking two languages was very important for me. And the other thing was my parents became Jehovah's Witnesses after I was baptized at the age of 2 as a Catholic. And that was very significant too, because it affected how I went to school. It affected how I grew up in terms of, you get a certain kind of a bent when your parents, teach you or bring you up in an institution or a certain way. So those two things were really significant. One gave me theology, one gave me languages. And I guess I've never really veered from that. I then started playing the guitar when I was about 8 or 9 or something like that, and I've always been a guitarist since. That gave me another dimension, which is music. Apart from that, I was never really that good at school. Probably good at English. I got good grades with English all the time. Not with mathematics. Nothing exceptional at all, except I was a good gymnast. Really, I'm not big at all in stature, but I'm pretty strong. I've always had great strength. I used to do gymnastics, somersaults, trampolining. So that was pretty good physically, but apart from that, nothing exceptional at all at school, man. I was really just struggling all the time. But I did have this theological bent. I had the linguistic thing and music. And I remember looking up the stars and really wanting to know the constellations. So I got myself a telescope. I was only, 11, 12. I begged my mother to get me this super-duper telescope. And so, all those things really stick out in my mind because they give you the sort of foundation for, where you go for the rest of your life, really. Anyway, so now I'm doing syncretism and, esoteric sciences. In fact, all sciences, not just esoteric sciences, whatever. Everything is unified and interrelated via the neutral syncretism. Syncretism is neutral. It's not a religion or theology. It's just the science of merging all things and showing the interrelatedness of all things. And so I know that we've got today's topic is, of course, Saturn. And, Saturn is a planet. Saturn is an archetype. It's in mythology, it's a god, a cruel god. In astrology, he's a greater malefic, which means a really naughty boy. He's not the Messiah. And Mars is a lesser benefic, but still a naughty boy. Both of those planets are of the archetype of Shiva from the west with the swastika, from the east with the swastika. Both of those planets. In fact, all of the planets really signify the cross. As Plato said, matter, the spirit in matter or mind in matter impressed itself in the form of a cross. This is why the cross is such a sacred symbol. It expresses the four elements: solid, liquid, gas, and radiance, as Plato would have said, earth, water, air, and fire. It expresses condition, and so the four conditions of our reality. Our body is a fourfold body in terms of elements. These are elements. And so the cross, as I show in my work too, I'm about to release a presentation called Atomic Language, in which I show that all language, all words, all thoughts, all things come from atom. Atum in Egypt, atom in Greek, Adam in Hebrew. Atom, all derivations of that, Latin, Saturn, all these are from the one root, which is atom, which is the atomic nature of the universe.
What language does that originally come from?
What's that?
You said atom. What does that originally come from? Is that Latin?
Atom is Latin and Greek, yes. Atum, with a U, is Egyptian, and they said that all is atum, all. And so my presentation I'm about to release, called Atomic Language, has 250 PowerPoint pages of really dense research, and it's basically just supporting evidence of the fact that all is atom. All is atom. This is why we have anatomies. This is why we study etymology. It's all about the atom, and the atom is Adam, and Adam is the wave, the ecliptic, the sine wave. All secrets of creation are on the wave, as Walter Russell said. And that's what all my work is. It's all based on that. Everything I do is based on the wave and the ecliptic, and how you can learn, everything, simply everything through the ecliptic. And the ecliptic is atum. They are one and the same. And so this is, I thought I'd preface the information about Saturn with that, because Saturn is the chief of atum. In fact, Sat-10, that's an atomic word. That's a first-order atomic word. What I call first-order atomic words are any word that has a T or a D, which is interchangeable, and a M and an N, which are interchangeable. And they can be reversed in the mirror. They can be mixed up anagrams, and they can be backwards. But they must have a T or a D, or an M and an N. And all the vowels are included, because I think you'll get more of an understanding why by the time we finish this, and we will start from the focal point of Saturn for all of this, because it's the best place to start. He is the beginning of all things. Chronos, old man time. Whatever is born in time will perish in time. That's why he has the scythe in his hand, and he is the dude that visits you the night before you go. Not to make you scared, but to tell you that it's okay. You must leave incarnation through the rings of Saturn at the Tropic of Capricorn. He is the ruler of Capricorn, and that is the sign where souls exit. It's called the gateway of the gods. The gateway of men is in Cancer. Right now, we're in Cancer. Ramadan, Tammuz of the Jews, the month of fasting, mourning, because now the sun is waning, you see? Mm-hmm. And so you have to contemplate, you have to reflect, you have to stop eating, and instead of feasting, you have to be fasting, because this is where, inner contemplation teaches you that you are in contact with a superior source. In and up you go, not down and out, because then you will be down and out. That's why Jesus of the Sacred Heart is always pointing one to his heart and then one up to the heavens, because he's saying once you go in, the only true way to everlasting truth and everlasting life is inwardly, and not outwardly, and upward you go in quality to the superior place where we come from. So Saturn is this archetype of the old man, Okay, so the ancients said that he is the last, he is the seventh heaven. Below that are the heavens of the other 6 planets and luminaries, and in this order, in the order of their rotation. So Saturn's 30 years, then Jupiter 12 years, then Mars 2 years, then the Sun, then Venus, then Mercury, then the Moon. So the Moon is actually the first sphere in which souls encounter on their way, their return back, and Saturn is the last. They're very interconnected. The Moon has a 29.45 day cycle. Saturn has a 29.45 year cycle. So one is the first, one is the last. That's, the alpha and the omega.
So all those numbers line up like that? They're dead on like that?
Yeah. When you do these planetary orders ordinarily, you can put Saturn first or the Moon. You can go down the ladder or up the ladder. Moon's down the bottom at the red chakra, the base chakra, okay? That's the red color. Moon, menstrual, bleeding, blood. She's the bleeder. And so she's red, and that's the color of the blood. And then the next one is the orbit in your body. This is the orbits. The next orbit is Mercury, then Venus. The heart is the sun in the middle. That's the heart chakra. Leo, the lion. That's the lion, and the toroidal fields, they all merge in the heart chakra. The most powerful vortices of magnetic energy are all centered in the heart. The others in the head, in Aries, the cerebrum, pineal gland rather, and the other one is the solar plexus. But the heart chakra, that's it, man. There's nothing like it. It's the core, the cur, the apple core. We are the apples of Apollo because we are solar beings. If you could see the magnetic auric field that we carry with us as we go, as animals can and others can see, you would see that we are suns. We are embryos of suns, as so are the planets. Now, above the heart chakra, the thymus, there is the throat chakra, that's blue. And then you've got your 2 head chakras, pineal gland and crown chakra, and they are purple, indigo, and violet. Above that is ultraviolet, can't see it, and below the red chakra is infrared, can't see that either. So those colors, 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 colors of your chakra system, etc., those are the planetary gods that are above us, above the earth. The first one is the Moon, and the last one is Saturn. And so Saturn is very, very important, very, very significant. He is Kronos, and he wears the crown. Now, this is very important you understand this, because when we go and discuss the sovereignty bit about the crown and these entities that turn up in your life at, for instance, in the hospital, where you are to sign a certificate of registration, and you put your children's sole of their feet on a piece of paper which specifically says Crown Copyright. Have you heard about selling your soul to the devil? You have, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, that's where the journey begins. Because, see, the people who run that maritime business, the Holy See of the Vatican, they know what's going on. They're in the salvage business. Anything that is born in time is Timmy, time, tempo, Kronos, Saturn. Anything that is born is in Satan's world. That's what it means. So I'm merging all philosophies here, man. So no one needs to get offended that I'm talking about astrology or Satan or the Mormons or anything. It's all pure neutral syncretism where all sciences are flatly merged and brought into a oneness.
Now, I've noticed you're integrating many different, what would you call them, sects or philosophies, but it all makes sense. It all works with each other.
Yeah, well, the mystic and the philosopher were required to know this. I mean, if you can't syncretize, well, then you're still dwelling in the land of opinion, sense, and a false knowing. Those are the 3 bottom chakras. Opinion, sense. These are 7 conditions of consciousness. The first condition is, the lowest is opinion, you see. And then sense, where you become more sensible and get common sense. And then knowledge, and then wisdom in the heart. and then intuition in the throat chakra, then theurgy, and then illumination in the crown chakra. This is all very important to connect the microcosm with this macrocosm, which is the planetary order of the world we live in. Now, these planets, see, the solar system is actually a solar cell. We live in a sphere. We do not live on a sphere. This is a Vatican corporate false prophet lie that has been going on since Copernicus, you see. Inside the sphere is the sun. The sun is the life giver. He is Adam. He is Atum.
Santos, I have a question for you about the Vatican.
Yep.
How far up the ladder of hierarchy would you say before a member would really know and understand these things?
Look, the common devotee, the common stock of these churches that are all infiltrated by the Freemasonry, and on the other hand, the Jesuits. There's nothing that they do not infiltrate on this planet. They work together, but they are two poles of the same satanic Luciferian energy of demon worship on this planet. Demons are entities that humankind creates. The Vatican families have created many demons, and we're still worshipping them. You know, the false image and the false idol is the false ID, the legal name. The false beast I haven't mentioned yet. The false prophet is the Vatican. All of these I will explain how they are to do with Saturn, and how the crown and all of this comes into it. But definitely higher up are the pimps in Rome that are hiding behind the curtains of these structures that they've created, like, you know, the Holy See and the Roman Curia, the Roman cult, the Vaticanus, the false prophet. These entities occupy the people that occupy them. They're kind of like a second order group that are allowed to be visible to the public, the ostensible components of the highest arcs of government that we have, whereas this is not true. This is a great deception. Behind the Pope is another more powerful entity. It always does, until it goes back to the archons that allow this reality to be real, and those are the 7 planets, period.
I was going to ask you about the archons when we got to that point.
Yeah, well, those are absolutely the 7 planets, starting with the sun, because the sun is the only one that has direct energy focused in it. It is the life giver. The planets are acceptors of life, and they reflect life and support life. But the sun is the true giver of life in his solar cell, and so Saturn is the other pole of that. It's death. It's the death principle. The solar system needs both. You can't have just life in this material existence. You can have unconditioned life, and that's where we come from. Our cause, our source is unconditioned life, and our return is to that source. But in temporal existence, in temporal conditioned existence, which is where we are now, because obviously you can hear my voice, that's material, that's sound. Obviously we've got computers doing this communicating, so this is all material, and so this is, on this level, you have life and death. You must have. So you must have the sun and his twin evil brother Saturn. But Saturn's not the only one that's doing it. So's Jupiter, so's Mars, so's the moon. Because all of these, they are all archetypes of the one supreme principle, which is being. Being which transcends all conditioned living, including mind. And only the Neoplatonist and true Hermetists are the ones that accept this understanding that reality is beyond mind, beyond thought, beyond the rationale, beyond reasoning. These conditions cannot accept truth, and so in that level, you see, when folks talk about God and the Lord, they're mixing two things up. God is the eternal good, one of the principles from this being. Being precedes good, as good precedes beauty. But these are all incorporated in the one. They all come from the one principal archetype, being. And this is we the people, who we are. And so that's unconditioned everlasting, whereas we are now in the conditioned temporal. Temp, we heard that one before, haven't we? Tempo, time, Saturn, Chronos, Satan. So the guys that run the business of salvaging, i.e. vicar of Christ type dudes, popes and bishops and cardinals, they're all in the business of saving us, right? Come to Jesus, we will save you, we are the Pontifex Maximus. There's no salus extra ecclesia non est. In other words, no salvation shall there be outside of Mother Church Catholic. So what are they doing? They're saving us, because they couldn't exist if they didn't consider you to be a heretic, lost at sea, SEE. So the whole foundation of time and Saturnian worship, and the crown and kings wearing crowns and bar members, selling their souls to Kronos, the crown, and playing this masquerade of the legal name business. It's just a mercenary merchandise commercial system of enslavement from Rome, and everybody's quite subscribed to it and happy and believe that it's law and lawful and all good. And
does that go all the way back to the Roman Empire?
Absolutely, 100%, man. This is what the Jewish revolt was all about. They didn't want a legal name. They didn't want to be registered. But Augustus the Caesars started this registration of the legal name, you've got to register your name. Regis is not a record, you see. They destroyed the recording, the recording of births in nations, and they created the registration of births in countries. These are all legal fictional entities that they created, demons. And so what they're doing now is they're registering their business name. It's Crown property. You have really truly no right at all to use it, and that's the only thing that they've got over us. In that, that we're using that name and not knowing that it is selling your soul to the devil.
Does this relate to the corporate identity with the letters all in capitals?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's the Capitis Maxima. There's three kinds of name. There's Capitis Maxima, Capitis Media, and Capitis Diminutia. So... No, I think I've said that wrong. But yeah, Maxima is all caps, okay? It's like the same name that you see on your coffins, okay? All capital, because caputus means head off, dead. Capital, caput.
Capital offense.
Yeah, and so these guys are actually working with dead fictional names, and that's why they summons you to court, because you can only summons the dead. And so this is how government becomes a covenant. The bar are a coven. They are a coven of witches and a den of thieves, and they are virtually the money changers that were condemned. There's only two entities that were condemned in the Christian Greek scriptures by Jesus, the archetype and mystical hero, and they are money changers and lawyers. And so, but they are Saturnian. Now, see, when we start seeing reality from a dualistic plane, and we're very judgmental and we condemn them for being evil, that's fine, but many, many times their evil acts have actually resulted in good. because they may have put someone in prison because they're going to make money on the prison bonds. Of course, those are the most valued bonds on the market now, prison bonds. That's why prisons, they're building more and more prisons, because rich folk know how to make a lot of money out of the prison bonds, you see. But some of those guys that get incarcerated come out better because they were better. Others don't, but the point is that we've got two things going on, okay? We've always got two things going on. It's good and evil on this plane. It's a conditioned temporal plane, and here we are, so we have to deal with it. But once we go beyond that to the unconditioned everlasting, which is our true nature, then we don't. The judgment matters not. The illusion is all unfolded, and the experience is gained, and we bring that home, and we become better when we return, just like Ulysses was better when he returned to Penelope and regained his status in the higher mind as having saved, his higher self. So Saturn, whilst, many people connect so many evils to him, so the greatest of all good comes from Saturn, old man time, our father, our grandfather, because he's the one that will honestly and truthfully release us into the true higher planes outside this octave of suffering. And this octave of suffering is basically the world of lumen, which is mundane light. And those are the 7 colours of the rainbow. And that's why we have 7 chakras in that colour. And so as we ascend the 7 consciousness levels from opinion to illumination, and we go from the red to the violet. See, red is always associated with fear, anger, red anger. Oh, I'm red hot, and it's got a long vibration, so it actually is truly, inclined to induce fearful states. Whereas that purple or violet, which is the highest frequency that we can see before white light, or before anything ultraviolet. That one there is known to heal exceedingly, and also the green of the heart chakra. And so, we see the order of the cosmos in our chakra system. Red down below in hell. In the middle you have the Midgard, which is the green chakra. That's associated with the green earth that man stands upon. Hence, it's the middle garden. But man is always looking with his head upward, as the animals cannot, because they have a horizontal spine. And so, as we look upward, we see a blue sky, hence the blue throat chakra above the green heart chakra. And that sky, that is the portal, that blue colour, that sky, that represents heaven, into the head, which is high heaven. Anything heaved up or high up is called heaven, heaved. And so, and that is and there are 2 astrological signs in the head. Aries the first at the top, which corresponds with the cerebrum, and Taurus the bull, which corresponds with the lower brain, the cerebellum. And then all the other signs go down the body from Gemini, Cancer, Leo in the heart, all the way down to Pisces, the 2 feet. And this is the temple and of old man time, of Saturn or Aten or Adam, the ecliptic. And it's all about how they rule the ecliptic. They are the rulers of the ecliptic because they are forever travelling and wandering on the ecliptic. That is their true home. In fact, the sun is the only orb that sticks to the ecliptic and does not decline or declinate. It can only right ascend. So astronomers teach you that, if you're on, say, Google Sky, you need to put in the coordinates, and you don't have latitude and longitude up in the sky. You've got right ascension for your longitude, and your latitude is declination. So the sun is never suffering of any kind of declination. He is the true right ascender, Ra, of meridian, Ram. And right ascension of meridian, Ram, always begins in 0 degrees Aries, the Ram. And so that's how astronomy, you see, it syncretizes with astrology. All the sciences do. And so Saturn's role, Saturn does not, he declines, you see. And he's always either, positive in declination, plus above the equatorial ecliptic of the sun. It's just an imaginary line up there in the belt of the zodiac, which is 18 degrees wide and in segments of 30 degrees. And so Saturn is basically the ruler of the whole thing, because his orbit is rounded off to 30 years, you see. So there are 30 degrees in each sign, and Jupiter's orbit is 12 years, and there are 12 signs. So all of these numbers and these planets and these archetypes, they are all interrelated. And as Plato said, all is made by the power of number. Numbers. All the gods, all the archetypes are numerical, sacred, geometrical forms and conditions of the one everlasting unconditioned. The everlasting unconditioned, the infinite of infinites, is always producing infinites from its infinite, power source. And so they are, this is why there's so much confusion in theology, but it's simple. It's so simple. You either see the God as a unit, which it is. That's the supreme principle and archetype, and then you see it in its diffusions as the demigod, the mind god, because mind is a condition. As Plato said, mind is it's the root of division in the universe. Mind. So you've got this one and you've got this two. One is being, atum, and two is mind, which is the firstborn of being, the Son of God. And this is virtually the only, and all the names of gods come from that one, from the second God, from mind God, conditioned God, the creator, the demiurgos, creator of solar systems, creator of everything that is molded and formed, the potters of Memphis, the archons, the Elohim, and they all descend from this supreme being archetype, you see. And so, but the confusion there is in the names of the dualistic part of reality. You see, Plato called it duality in unity. That's what's going on. And so it's very, very simple. All the philosophers, all the theologians, mystics, all of them spoke of this one and two phenomena, and one and two make up 12. You see, that's why 12 is root 12 is the true system of this universe. The reason why Tesla said the secret of creation lies in the number 3, 6, and 9, he forgot to add 12, which is the last and final key number to his cipher. But he was very smart. He was hiding it quite well. But if he had have added the 12, then we would have understand that all multiples of 12 reduce to the numbers 3, 6, 9 in perpetuity. You see, 12, 24, 36. Let's take the first three, for instance. 12, 1 and 2 is 3. 24, 2 and 4 is 6. 36, 3 and 6 and 9. And then, of course, after that, you start again. 48, 4 and 8, 12, which is 1 and 2. So you need to take your pick. Are we going to call it 12 or are we going to call it 3? Well, Tesla, he knew what he was doing. It's 369, 369 forever, in root 12. That's why we have 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 labours that we are here to perform, 12 systems that make up the body, 12 cranial nerves, 12 petals in the heart chakra, 12 nerve plexuses in the solar plexus, the third chakra.
Is this why symbolically that gets used, like Jesus and the 12 disciples, for instance?
Yeah, well, look at the name Jesus. It's not Yeshua. Jesus is a Roman compromise of Jupiter Zeus. You know, the Latin Jupiter and the Greek Zeus, and then they reduced it to Jesus. So his orbit is 12 years. Of course he has 12 disciples and 12 apostles, because that's the name of those signs of the zodiac. They're posts, and Jupiter is the key ruler in that of 12, in 12ness. Jupiter is perfection of 12, of mind, and he spends a year in each sign, you see. So this is a perfected being, a perfected God. These are gods. Zeus is a god, man. You know, when you see that spark of light in the heavens and you call that a star or a planet or whatever you want to call it, that is a focal center of consciousness of that particular archangel called Ariel, Jupiter. And Saturn is Cassiel, and Mars is Samael, and the sun is Michael, and the moon is Gabriel, and Mercury is Raphael. You see, and these are beings. So when people, for instance, there's a lot of news getting around about the moon wave that's been photographed, filmed. Saturn's rings are changing. Jupiter's composition's changing. We've now got photos of Pluto, blah, blah, blah. All of this, all we're doing is we are puny little beings that have very, very poor vision. We can only see in that very, very thin sliver of the visual lights of the light spectrum, which is infinite, and we think, you know, oh, that's just a planet, you know, and it reflects light, blah blah blah. It's got hydrogen, and Jupiter is just a hydrogen helium gas giant. Same with Saturn. Same with the Sun. Mars is also a gas giant. Venus is. Look, they are all parts. Only some parts of the body of the God that they are. And they are gods. And we are God. See, as I said, everything is God's that goes back to the one God. And that's basically the root of existence. This God, this eternal good. As the Neoplatonists said, they are one and the same, interchangeable. And so, and Saturn is the prototype of all of them. He is the chief supreme prototype in the physical world. Everything beyond the physical world he has no dominion over, and that is in the realm of his father Uranus. Uranus means the heavens, and Uranus is the ruler of the eighth sphere. Saturn is, of course, the Shiva, the seventh. He is the seventh Sabbath planet. Saturn day, the Sabbath. Sunday is the first day, but they're always together, you see, on the weekends, Saturn and Sun, Saturn day and Sunday. This is very peculiar with these two brothers, these two twins, Horus and Set, sunrise and sunset. One is daylight, one is darkness, one is direct energy, one is reflected energy, see. But the fact is this, that Saturn's light is that ultraviolet. It's that violet light. That's the light of Saturn. That's the true light of Saturn on the evolutionary arc of our our spiritual evolution. But on the involution arc, Saturn's light is the red light, and so he gives us a vice rather than a virtue. But what we have to do. See, souls descending through Saturn's rings receive the vestments of those planets. You see, Saturn gives you prudence, Jupiter reason and rationale, Mars will, the Sun divine will, Venus gives you sensual nature and love. Mercury also communication, and the moon imagination, and then the Earth gives us this vestment called the physical body. All the minerals that we have basically are hers, and we have to give those back, leave them in the tomb before we depart. But the thing about this solar system is that these seven archons, these seven archetypes, we have to be able to escape their force, which is pushing downwards, and they are also pulling upwards. There's no mistake about that. They are our enemies and they are our friends. Beyond their realm, once we lose the bodies, beyond their realm, then there's no enemies and there's no friends. There's just being. You see, so it's a playful world, man. It's and Saturn is the supreme archetype of how it works. It's all about temporal conditioned existence. And the mind that we have that comes from these seven, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or Little Red Riding Hood, whichever nursery rhyme you want to apply, it will always supremely end up in the sun. The sun is, again, as I said, on another level, he's also the supreme one. They are both saviors. They are true Lucifers. Lucifer means light bearers. The light that Saturn brings is an interior light, which is also connected to the infinite and intuition. This is why, again, it really complicates the matter of Saturn, the discussion of Saturn. It is the most removed of polarities within that archetype. Saturn is just so dramatically dualistic, it's not funny. And so this is where people get really complicated in their beliefs. You see, anyone who's a Satanist is basically someone who has a good Saturnian energy about them. Anyone who is a sinner, well, sinner is the moon. Sin is the ancient name in Chaldea for the moon. Mm-hmm. So, you see, these are derogatory names that we carry through us, and we learn from church and from our colloquialisms and idiosyncrasies. That heretics, sinners, Satanists, witches, these all come from the orbs. You see, and the most looked down on and condemned are always Saturn and the moon, sinners and Satanists. But the root of the word will always bring you back to the archetype, the netta, the nature that they are. The Egyptians called these nature gods nettas, and so. The point of life is that once we receive and understand with intelligence their role, as entities outside of us, but also within us. See, Jupiter is not outside of you; he is in you. It is an archetype in you. He comes to you in through certain organs like your liver. Jupiter rules the liver. Some of the glands, like the third eye, that's Jupiter. That's why the Hindus put the bindi on the third eye. That's all Jupiterian. That chakra, the Ajna chakra, that's Jupiter. And so it's in you. Saturn is in you. It's the crown chakra. It's your spleen. It's your bones. Capricorn and Saturn, the ruler thereof, rule the bones and the skeletal system, hence political structure. It's the 10th sign. 10 is completion. So human completion. We have 10 fingers. We have, and 10 is another word of, it's just Aten, Saturn. Again, everything goes back to these atomic words. And so, 10 is, see, this is why 12 is such a beautiful number, because 12 is also related to the decimal system. And people don't realize that. When you go down the multiples of 12, 24, 36, like we did before, and we discovered 369 in perpetuity, there is also 24680, 24680, 24680 in perpetuity. And that 0 is 10. So 12 has got this incredible ability to be so flexible. It is the root of the universe. It truly is, together with the numbers 3 and 6 and 9. But 9 is peculiar because multiples of 9 will always give you 9. 9, 18, 27. 18 is 1 plus 8, which is 9. 27 is 2, 7, 9. So, but the others will always go back to these key processional universal numbers, which are all pivoting around 12. 12 is, in 12 you have 4 triads. The first triad, 1 to 3, is positive. Those numbers are positive numbers. 4 to 6, they are negative. 7 to 9 are neutral, and 10 to 12 are transitory numbers. That's why Tesla's cipher is so clever, because he only dealt with positive, negative, and neutral. You don't have to explain transitory. That is part of the cycle, which is a resting part of the cycle. It's the true rest of every cycle. And so the astrological science teaches us this, because we have 4 seasons. Spring, which is the beginning of all activity, the blossom, the fruit begins. Summer, the harvest. Autumn, the fall, and then winter is the true transitional period. So spring is positive, summer is negative, autumn is neutral, and winter is transitory. Those are the 4 conditions. And along ecliptics, that's all you will get. Whether you're studying a photon or whether you're studying a galaxy, you will only get this 4 parts of the cycle, and that's the cross. The cross of, existence. The universe is basically impressing its spiritual forces upon matter in the shape of a cross, as Pythagoras said. Everything is impressed with that cross of matter. And of course, the cross of all crosses is Saturn's. The Japanese and Chinese figure, glyph or kanji, for Saturn is basically just the Latin cross with a horizontal floor on it, pedestal to stand on. So when you look at that Latin cross, the shape of the human torso, just standing erect with arms outstretched horizontally, that is the kanji in China and Japan for Saturn. Do-sei is his name, and it's also the kanji for Earth. Well, I wonder why. Why would the cross, the Latin cross, standing on a pedestal, be the kanji for both of Saturn and the Earth? Well, because Saturn's archetype is, his power is coagulating. It makes bones and muscle, and he is the artisan on the loom, making, putting flesh on bones and tissue and blood and
the representation of the physical.
Exactly, he is the foundation of it. That's why the cross is the symbol of earth in kanji, in their beautiful Chinese characters. And so when you look at the astrological glyph for Saturn, you will also see the same cross. It's exactly the same, except in the Eastern system they have a flat line, whereas in the West we have a little squiggle, just like a scythe. Mm-hmm. So at the bottom of the cross, you will see the scythe of Saturn. In other words, he is life through the 4 elements, but he is also the scythe that beheads, or decapitatus, the life. And so that scythe is very, very significant. It is a great symbol. It's a very evocative, esoteric symbol of the Saturnian energy. Now, the elite at Rome and the cardinals, who are the most evil of all the entities on the physical plane and are are half of Earth's causal suffering, together with the dark satellite, which is the animal chakra of the earth, these two halves of evil and cause all sorts of suffering and extinguish all kinds of truth the moment it blossoms from the mouths of its prophets here on earth. They are the persecutors of it. And these entities here, they harvest the negative side of Saturn's energy. They don't care for the beautiful side. They don't care for the greatness of Saturnian energy which saves. He is the one that we must have the correct currency of his realm when we pass through to pay the ferryman. And if we don't, rest assured, he will be kind enough to send us back down and learn again.
This reminds me, the way you keep talking about the duality of it, of the Masonic checkerboard floor, black and white.
Yep.
Is that a direct relation to all this?
Yeah, absolutely. Saturn is the supreme archetype of black and white light. Just as Mars and Venus are the supreme archetypes of red and blue light. You see on police cars, ambulances, they are the two halves of electrical force, red fire, blue water. Those are the two first colours that stream forth from white light. White light is one, it does not vibrate. It is magnetic, it is cause, it is source, it is prime creator, and it has a sun, the soul of the world, red and blue light. And everything you see is made by these. And that's why all the gods are painted in their face, red or blue. Well, not all of them. Krishna's black. Jesus is white. Sometimes he's black. Actually, what they don't understand is this, that Jesus is white. Christ is black. Because Christ means cryptic, black, hidden, dark. So when you see a black Jesus, it's not black Jesus. Jesus is white. Christ is black. See, these are mysteries that the mere profane worshipper in their churches will never, ever, ever, ever fathom until they free themselves and release their intelligence,
Well, you just said it again with that dichotomy of black and white. Jesus Christ, white, black.
That's right.
So it's all encoded in all of these things that even modern people know of. They just don't know what's behind it.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. They don't understand how all things are one. If they departed and postulated everything from that oneness instead of from duality, you see, they've been trained at church. Oh, the devil's bad, and you'll go to the devil if you're bad, and God and Jesus, oh, they are good, and this really crude, very, very crude, almost animalistic, opinionated level consciousness that they are sharing and emanating from their so-called schools, man. It's darkness what they are teaching, but it's necessary because these ones are being treated like Ulysses' men. They've been turned into swine. They do not return from their voyage to their loved ones. They have to be pigs for a little bit more in the pig pen. And see, this is why the elites love to get us to have bacon and eggs for breakfast. And because, if you're eating bacon, you will be a swine. If you're eating, beef, you will be chattel. And you are chattel through the legal name. If you're eating lamb and mutton and like a glutton, you will be a sheeple with wool pulled over your eyes. You will be led to the slaughter like a sheep, and you will be fleeced. If you're eating rabbits, you're rabbit-hearted. If you're eating chicken, you're chicken-livered and chicken-hearted. And if you're eating fish, they laugh at you. The Egyptians never ate fish because this is an unconscious thing to eat fish, because fish are supposedly of another consciousness level because they live in water. Our mental polarity is in the attenuated water element of air. We breathe air, hence we are more intelligent. We shouldn't be eating fish. You see, when you eat goat, you become a sacrificial, scapegoat. There's no mistake, and it's deliberate. The animals that they're forcing us to eat from their blood-stained abattoirs. If you're eating meat, you will absolutely return to taste it some more in this vicious place of Kali Yuga. The philosopher, all philosophers, but I'm not talking about worldly wise ones, you know. I'm talking about the true philosopher who is the mystic. These are two different separate levels. He wrote on a philosophical level, but when he started the mystical, theological level, he did not write. None of those writings, when he went to the third level and Aristotle could not follow him because of the worldly wisdom, not the mystical wisdom of Plato and Pythagoras. These guys there, they are known for their vegetarian. Philosophy and vegetarian are two words that go hand in hand, and they always have and always will. You cannot walk the path and return whilst eating meat, because the red blood in your body of other creatures is the symbol. It's the currency that you bring after you die. The smell on your aura is of blood, and you cannot ascend. This is why they make it so nice to, hamburgers and you got Burger King and Big Mac and all of this advertising to eat swine and pork and to be chattel and sheeple and basically just stupid, really. When mankind knows that we were not even designed to eat meat. If we were, we should be able to, with our bare hands, run down some kind of a wild boar and eat it with our own teeth and feast on it just as the other animals do. Otherwise, why is it that we have to use ovens and oils and condiments and knives and forks and guns to shoot them down and traps and because it's unnatural. It's purely removed from source energy. And so it's things like this. Now, this is not with condemnation to people who are eating meat. This is a blessing to them, to show them that what they truly, every time they eat a morsel of meat, they know in their heart of hearts that they shouldn't be. So this is to remind them that their future is going to be brighter, because they will stop this one day. And then they will learn how to, go back through the vegetarian path, which is that does not have blood. And so when the soul is released from matter, it's, all its vibration, its smell, it's clean. It doesn't have blood guilt. It's not tainted. And so it will ascend. It's like, evaporation. As the sun pulls water into the heavens, so does it pull souls. You see, our souls are always being pulled up, ever, to disentangle us from matter. And the sun, the life giver, is the chief principal agent in the solar system that is doing this. It is the true saviour of mankind. And Saturn, they all are. They are not indifferent to our suffering. They suffer with us. As you suffer, so within, so without, so do the planets. Whatever you are suffering in your liver, so is Jupiter suffering. The planets are not free from suffering, because they exist in a conditioned temporal world. Hence, it implies suffering. It includes suffering. It incorporates suffering. Anything incorporated or embodied, has to have a measure of suffering, unless, of course, there are physical worlds where there is no suffering. But these are at the other end. These are highly, highly attenuated, and basically those realms we will experience when we prove that we will not abuse the power and the glory that comes with it. And so, as we are faithful in small things, so we shall be faithful in large things. So, it really is time for us to step up and be sovereign, be a priest and a king, a sovereign and a spiritualist. And the sovereignty part of this is very necessary too, because Saturn works in such a way. He is the ruler of temporal time, temporal conditioned spatial existence. He is the ruler of it, of all of it. Not just in our solar system, but his archetype outside of our solar system. Saturn is everywhere imbued in the universe, everywhere imbued in your body. Your body is living and breathing grace to Saturn. If Saturn didn't exist and fragmented, your bones would dematerialize. He is the cause of your bones being so beautifully strong. And, he's such a highly attenuated, attuned planet that he's the only one that shows his rings. All the others are wobbling. Saturn does not wobble. He's perfectly straight, and that's why we can see his rings. Jupiter's rings are way bigger than Saturn's, but we can't see them because he's not vibrating on his true vibration. He's suffering. You see, so
would the planets change as we change? For instance, if humanity, how should I word this? If humanity started,
yes, yes,
I think you know where I'm going with that.
Yes, 100%. You ultimately are the cause of the change in the whole universe, brother. You and I, and the listeners. You and I, and as you take up responsibility and be a pather, a true pather, a truther, but living true, reaching out ever forward and onward for this substance and being of truth that will envelop you and make you glorious as you once were.
This is the true interrelatedness of everything.
Absolutely. There's no time for farting around with, I like this McDonald's burger over that McDonald's burger. Your cuisine and education and all of these noisy themes. There's no time for that, man. There's time for one thing only, and that is to spend meditative time with you every day, whether it's 3 seconds or 1 second. But as long as you get that 1 second where everything else does not matter at one bit, not a bit, and there's only you and the universe in existence, and there's nothing else at all. If you do that for 1 second every day and bless yourself with that 1 second, something will happen where your polarity will go, you will find that inward path, and you will relinquish, and you will conquer the world, and you will relinquish its attachments, and your intelligence will release itself from that material power. Because there are 3 kinds of energy in the world, and the lowest is the material kind. The highest is the solar kind, direct energy, and the second kind is reflective, which is planetary. So what we're doing is we are actually releasing ourselves from the planetary reflective energy, and we are becoming solar heroes. And we do that together with Saturn. You don't exclude Saturnian energy here. We are like Hercules. We become solar heroes, and we rise above the planetary mental and emotional conditions that they have given us. And each one of us are conditioned differently. We're all tuned like an instrument, and you can only know that tuning when you know the astrological birth chart. And in the tropical system, which is the Western Egyptian Hermetic tropical astrology, which is in all its facets 100% truthful and accurate, whereas all other systems are not. They're accurate because they're all languages. They're just languages of electricity and electrical force. But only tropical, because tropical is based on the ecliptic, and the true astrological constellations exist on the ecliptic. They are all 30 degrees long. But when you look at the sky, you'll find Aries is only about 19 degrees long, Virgo's about 46, Leo's whatever. They're not all 30 degrees, indicating that the precessional slippage is another phenomena which Eastern Jyotish, Vedic and Indian Hindu astrology is based on, precessional slippage. So the difference is this. One is astronomical and one is astrological. The tropical Western system is astrological. The sidereal, not the tropical, so because the Eastern system is sidereal, based on the slippage, whereas the Western system is not. It's based on the ecliptic, and that's all I teach, ecliptics. So when you go to the sidereal Jyotish Eastern system, and you go to your astronomical, like Google Sky and all of this, and all of your astronomical applications on your smartphones and computers, they are all astronomical, unless you go into an astrological site, and that will show you where the planets are on the ecliptic, whereas your astronomical applications and stuff and such, they will show you sidereally where the planets actually are in relation to the constellations. So you'll see a little bit of a discrepancy there, and see now both of them are not wrong. It's just that tropical astrology is the true system. Sidereal astrology has influence too, because the planets are truly conjunct with those constellations. So they are both directing an energy, through channeling each other's energy, because they are physically, when you look at the sidereal system, you can see that perhaps, like for instance, the sun sidereally is not in Cancer, but we're in the sign of Cancer now in the West, in the Western system. Astrologically, we say, it's the 18th of June, and we're in the sign of Cancer. Whereas in the Hindu system, you see it's the planets they're really back in Gemini. You see, so this discrepancy is what needs to be surmounted and needs to be syncretized. And I have syncretized this and explained this. The tropical system is the primary system. The energies of astrology come through the primary center of the sun on the ecliptic, and the planets, but on the ecliptic. And they are channeled through those segments of constellations which are all 30 degrees on the ecliptic. The secondary force of the planets lining up sidereally through the signs, that is a secondary influence. And it's there, but it is nowhere near as strong as the tropical system. It is the primary system and the true theology. Astrology is actually the true theology. And all of your, astrologers and mystics and philosophers, they all agree. The same archetypes turn up, and they are always the same. They are the only ones. They are the ones. And they exist in all things. Their essences are perceived intelligibly and intellectually. We can conceive them intelligibly, and we can rationalize on them and understand them intellectually. The intellectual gods we can understand. The intelligible God we can't, because it is inconceivably transcendent, and it's conceptual, really. That's the most that we can muster up in this position and in this condition that we are in. So, but they all agree, all the mystics and all of them, that these are the forces that we are dealing with. They are electrical forces. They come from the positive red and the negative blue, and they are all proceeding from these certain archetypal vibrations or beings. Truth is a being. It's not a word. It's a being. As Plato said, deity is an immense being whose body is of the substance of light and whose soul is of the substance of truth. Well, see, this is why the scriptures say God is light. Well, the supreme God is Kronos, the crown, Satan, really, because he can rule with dexterity his temporal conditioned worlds. He does such a great job of it. And so on the negative side of all of this, and what Saturn's doing on the geopolitical, social plane and economically, is just very significant. On the one hand, on the evil side, you've got the elites harvesting the bad energy through the bar. So you've got your pimps in Rome, and you've got your prosecutors that are bar members doing their dirty, filthy work for the Inquisition. And the archetypes, the entities that they're using, the demons and egregores that they have created, these Vatican families, go back to Babylon, and they laugh at us because these archetypes are, jokingly given nicknames in the Book of Revelation, for instance, like the false prophet, the harlot. These are so easy to understand, They are there. As I said, the false image or the false idol that we bow down to is the false ID, your all caps name. Capitis diminutia maxima. That's it. I forgot when I said it wrong last time. It's capitis diminutia maxima, capitis diminutia media, and capitis diminutia minima, or something like that. But anyway, that's all caps is maximum. This is a false ID, and people are doing most of their transactions through that. The harlot is maritime law, because the harlot sits on many waters. Well, maritime law is the law, the commercial code of waters. And the beast with 7 heads that comes out of the sea of humanity, basically that is the 7 empires of the world that have been, which gave us this horrible slave system. The beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that came from the land, on the other hand, that is the 7 empires of Europe that colonized the world and brought the Vatican slave system to the rest of the world, you see.
But this was all started in ancient Rome?
No, it started further back. Egypt, Babylonia, Medo-Persia. Way back. It's Babylon the Great, get out of her, my people, if you do not want to share with her in her sins. That's what it is.
So the whole controlling through the name, that all started in ancient Babylon?
Yes, it did, brother. Yes, it's a Babylonian system. It's Babylonian. It started in Babylon. And they created these demons. The harlot, maritime law. They encoded it. The 7-headed beast is the Roman annexed colonies of Rome, i.e. Portugal, Spain, all the maritime powers of Europe. Portugal, Spain, France, England, Holland, Belgium, and Germany, who colonized the whole planet virtually. Those 7 empires, they come from the land, and they represent the beast which had 7 heads, which comes from the water, maritime, Rome, because Rome is the maritime, she is the harlot who sits on all the waters. Since they destroyed Carthage, remember, Cato was calling for the destruction of Carthage. He said, we can never ever leave the land, because Rome was only basically situated on the peninsula. Not even Sicily or Corsica or Sardinia were occupied by Rome yet. Carthage was the queen of maritime sea. She was dealing in Babylonian and Phoenician law, and she was the queen of the sea. So 200 BCE or 250 BCE, when they destroyed Carthage, Rome then took over Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, North Africa, Spain, southern France, and she started her maritime empire. Venice, the Venetians, i.e. Phoenicians, Pisa, the Piso family, one of the most powerful Roman aristocratic families that's behind this pimpocracy we live in. There's many of these families, and they are the pimps. It's a pimpocracy, and they harvest Saturnian negative energy because it's the most powerful. It's the crown. They know that the salvage business is legitimate because people don't know who they are. So if you're going to rock up, the policeman's going to say, what's your name? And you give them a legal name, which is crown copyrighted. Well then, hey man, you need to be harvested by Saturn and the crown and all that copyright bullshit. And
because you willingly gave yourself to them.
Absolutely. I mean, if you are God, you don't give yourself to any legal name that's owned by any crown.
Now, the implication here sounds like this New World Order, or whatever you want to call it, is really the old world order that they started in ancient times, basically.
Yeah, look, there's no separation between New World and Old World or any of that. There only is astrologically. So the old, but they merge into one another. There's no difference, brother. There's the New World Order is supposedly an allusion to America, the New Jerusalem, and that's why the Vatican severely caused harm to America and its republic and its constitution and its law and its true government, national government, by in the war of independence and the Civil War. These are all Vatican generated wars from the banksters of Switzerland, and when they incorporated Washington D.C., basically that was the and in 1913 the Federal Reserve Act, and then in 1933 the bankruptcy. These were all the crowning achievements of the New World Order. This is Rome at its best. I mean, the fasci of Rome are still in the Senate House and in the Congress House in D.C. Yeah. So Rome. The New World Order is just, an extension. One beast comes from another beast. The beast from the land comes from the beast that comes from the sea, blah, blah, blah. And the false prophet, they're all the same. You have to have a false prophet. That's the Vatican. Vatican means false prophet. Can comes from Cohen, which is a Jewish word for priest, or diviner, or someone who prophesies. So to con someone, con artists. Eventually, they were called con artists, the conners. Mm-hmm. This is why we have a words carnival again. It's all priestly stuff. Okay, and so
doesn't Catholic mean universal?
Catholic means universal. Absolutely.
So wouldn't that mean they're the universal con men?
Absolutely, Vati con men. Yes. And Vati means serpent. So Vatican means divining serpent or false prophet. The allusion is to the same thing. You've got to know how the structure works. The structure is they create demonic god archetypes which have life and breath in them, because how you create these demons is, individuals do them all the time. You see these people who are going insane on the streets that are having conversations with themselves. Well, who they're talking to is actually their own demons or emotion forms that they have created. They may have got really, really, really angry one day, 20 years ago, and that emotion from that anger stayed with them, and it resided deep in their heart and burned, and every day they gave it energy, and it grows and grows, and all of a sudden you start talking to that energy, man, and it builds a life of its own. Well, when congregations or covenant, the bar, when they get together and form secret societies, you can rest assured what they are doing. They are not just, having some social chit-chatter. They are creating emotion, thought, forms. These are charged entities that grow as they channel energy into them. So every time 1 million pedophile supporters turn up at St. Peter's Square at Easter to hear Chief of Pedophiles, Pope Francis, talk about how beautiful pedophilia is on the earth and how much they bless it and love it and practice it, those Catholics that go there to bless that situation, they are actually giving life to egregores, demons that these guys have actually created, monsters that give us hell and want blood. These demons are so angry. They're constituted of evil human thoughts and emotions, and mixed with animal. The animal chakra of the earth is called the dark satellite. The dark satellite rules all the evil ones on the planet. They are ruled exclusively by the dark satellite. It's the lowest animal chakra that the earth has. She has 7 chakras as well as they all do. Everything does. All physical creation has 7 conscious levels, except for animals. Animals only have 5.
I have a question for you.
Yep.
All of these rituals that we're seeing, all the symbolism in media, movies, on TV, everything, the charging that you were referring to, pretty much that's what they're doing, and anyone who is viewing is basically taking part in that ceremony and adding to that.
Yeah, we give life to this maritime people trafficking business by allowing the Vatican to exist, and clapping when they do something, or giving any kind of attention. They should be in prison. They should be imprisoned. They should be in jail. These are animals on earth that are vicious, and it's obvious. Pope Francis recently declared that the church is infested with 8,000 pedophiles. Well, that's a very conservative number, isn't it? I'd say 100% pedophiles, because what are they doing pretending to be not pedophiles in a church that is known for pedophilia? I would abandon that church like a rat out of a sinking ship.
Well, it's obvious that it must be bad, because how long did they get away with it? And it really only didn't come out until the more modern age, when a lot of more independent media was starting to expose things. Once this mass communication integration thing that we've got now, I mean, otherwise in older times it would have just gotten swept under the rug and that was the end of it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you have a ministerial office of any kind with the Catholic Church, you are a pedophile. Period. That's it. You're a pedophile. Even if you're not, you are. You're condemned, because to support such a beastly, disgusting, animalistic, people trafficking, pedophile organisation is simply unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable. We have to leave these disgraceful institutions behind, and with our minds, project onto. If we need to sort of reconstitute these institutions, I don't think we do. I think we should just turn our backs on all of them and just turn our hearts inwardly and upwardly, and to a superior source and an interior truth, and we will be guided forever and ever and ever. And as long as more of this kind of people awaken and come together, there shouldn't be any problem. We should absolutely be able to rid ourselves of this pestilence, of this pimpocracy that has infested our planet. And we must address the pimps and the prostitutes, the bar and the Vatican and their corpses. See, the beast with 7 heads, the Vatican was able to conquer all these heretical lands and steal land off the Australian Aborigines and American indigenous people and plant their corporations on their land, hence maritime sea, because you can't bring law of the land to a land that you've stolen. You can only bring... I mean, the English didn't bring any common law to America because the common law is from England. It is English. Or, it's not necessarily common law, but all of its land laws and things like that. America does not belong to England or any white man. It belongs to the indigenous people. So whatever kind of law they pretend to practice there is a farce, unless everyone is absolutely 100% blessed by the indigenous people and consenting, and adult and consenting. That's it. Otherwise, it's a farce. So Rome did this annexing of the world through 7 corpses, beasts. A beast with 7 heads. Portugal, Spain, England, France, Belgium, Germany, and Holland. 7 annexations of Rome that Rome controls. They are corporations of Rome. They all are. All roads lead to Rome, period. All of them. As all words lead to Atum. Rome is the ruler of the world. There's no other rival. And so, and through this slave system of the false prophet that we all bow down and worship to, the legal name. It's a false ID, or the false idol. And so the 10 horns, 7 heads and 10 horns. The 10 horns are the 10 monarchies of these countries. Some have been extinguished, like the Merovingians, And, this was done deliberately. Rome controls which royal families survive and which don't. It's all done by agreement. The Windsors are allowed to because London is the second direct structure from Rome, and DC is the third. They are the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. London is the son of Rome. London. And and they harvest and salvage souls that are lost at sea, SEA. Rome, those that are lost at sea, SEE. In the States, in DC, they salvage belligerents and hostiles and other kinds of, non-competous mentis individuals lost at sea.
The way it seems to work with the three of them that I've noticed is the Vatican is the spiritual control, the city-state of London would be the financial control, and Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, is the physical or militaristic control.
Yep. Spot on. 100%.
And they're all individual, if I understand this correctly. They are city-states of their own. They're not part of the lands that they reside in. They're their own independent entities, aren't they?
Yes. They're Roman elite, pimp family owned. Absolute pimps.
Which should tell you a lot right there.
Yeah, for sure. It's pimpocracy. America was once the land of the free. It really was. People had their own militia. They had their own guns. They were all protected. They were rich, prosperous. And then, of course, enemies of that beautiful free country. The Republic only lasted 100 years, man, and then democracy came. Demon, crazy government, mob rule, Jefferson called it. And Andrew Jackson said, I killed the banks. Abraham Lincoln tried the greenback and tried to stop, the Rothschild Central Bank, and Hamilton was an agent for them. Then came Woodrow Wilson, who betrayed his nation and was grieved that he did that with the Federal Reserve Act. And then then Roosevelt, of course, with the last betrayal of the bankruptcy. And these were the three coups. These were the three blows that came from Rome. Rome was determined to destroy that, Declaration of Independence and Articles of Confederation and all of those beautiful documents, which really are they're just constitutional law, which doesn't give you freedom or any of those things. It just says this is how we are constituted. And anyone else who wants to, do fraudulent business, you can't, because we are a republic. We do things by the rule of law, and we live by the rule of law, and we are responsible for law and live it through our own lives. See, democracy makes sure that doesn't happen. Now you've got Big Brother making sure it happens in a corrupt way, and it will be that way. So, it's our own fault. We were sleeping. We were caught, sort of more or less sleeping, really, unawares and not educated. The education system was structured in such a way that we wouldn't be able to discern reality from the illusion, and we were caught. But now people are doing their research, awakening somehow. There's a great awakening. And the tables are being turned in a beautiful way, just like Jesus turned the tables of the money changers then. They are the money changers. How they change money is they make bonds for the stock market through your birth certificate bond, the legal name. Those are securities, derivatives for the futures market, derived from your bond. And so they make performance bonds. They make bid bonds, payment bonds, prison bonds. They write these up. They're written by scrivener notaries. Scrivener notary means a writer of indulgences. It's the Inquisition. It's the Inquisition. And how they get money through that system, it's called the postal system. It's not the post office, which is the true government connected to the true treasury. These so-called representative agents that we send to DC, they are working for the banksters because they are getting money from the banks, not from the treasury. But when these scrivener notaries and bar types write up these bonds, they actually go to the Treasury window and get the money from our true national trust, which is the Treasury Trust, which is created when anyone is born. That has to happen. The nation has to protect them and give them true protection. So this is called a special fund account, whereas the Vatican have a trust fund account, and that is based on maritime law, and it's based on the SESWI-KV system, and so they change real money into currency. So they are the money changers. That's all they're doing. It's all about money. They are the money changers, and their tables need to be overturned urgently.
For anyone who doesn't understand or believe that they make bonds off of us, years ago when I first started researching this material, I looked up on Fidelity.com, and you can't do this anymore because too many people started figuring it out. But I checked the numbers against my Social Security card, and I found it. My stock was worth $17 and some odd cents a share.
There you go.
And it was all linked. It was all right there in front of me, and I was like, okay, this is the way it really works. So for those of you out there who may not think that this is real, I found out it was real.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things that are not real that we should be exposing really, really quickly as soon as possible. Allopathic medicine is a scam. The schooling system is a big scam, the educational system.
And it's gotten worse in the United States with Common Core.
Yeah.
You can't even, I've looked through it, I've researched it. You can't even, if a child went through all that all their life, they wouldn't be capable of critical thinking because it's so ridiculous and backwards. And of course that's on purpose.
Yeah, for sure it is. And so, we have this problem of massive falsehood and propaganda. And basically it all comes from that entity called the false prophet, which is Vatican, the Vatican. The Vatican is the false prophet, hence all the falsehood that is rampant on this earth, all of it comes from the Vatican. The lot of it. There's nothing that doesn't come from the Vatican. It's all controlled by there. They control everything, every single thing, everything, every transaction of money on the planet. And they've done this with the help of the Khazarians, i.e. the Rothschilds, and their banking system. Since 1823 they've been working together, the Rothschilds and the Vatican. The red beast, Rothschild, and the dragon, Vatican, the divining serpent. The Revelation is full of it. It explains everything. The red serpent, the red shield. That's why they have the red cross and the red shield appeal. This is all for the Rothschilds, for the red beast, the beast that sheds blood on the planet. As the mama Rothschild herself said, if my sons did not want wars on this planet, there would be none. So they've been since basically Waterloo and the French Revolution. They've been occupying and holding coups in all countries on the planet. You know, Chile, Argentina, Korea, Vietnam, Timor. Even Pakistan. All of this, Iran. And the war, and Saddam Hussein, Colonel Gaddafi, and the Libyans were trying to make the dinar famous in Africa to piss off the Federal Reserve petrodollar scam, and so all of this war and bloodshed, the Russian Revolution was held by the Bolsheviks. They came from the Vatican. They all come from the Vatican and Wall Street. All of it. Controlled by the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, same family, Goldsteins. It's all one family, man. It's all the Russells. It goes all back to this Babylonian bloodline it's basically the Khazarians are basically an incarnation of the Hyksos. The Hyksos did this massive damage to Egypt thousands of years ago. We're talking before the 18th dynasty, so about 4,000 years ago. The Hyksos were defeated by the Amenhoteps. They came along and just got rid of them in the 18th dynasty, and the Dark Ages of Egypt were vanquished. But somehow at the end of the 18th dynasty, something happened again with the Aten priesthood and the Amun priesthood, and Akhenaten changed his name from Amenhotep, who were really, truly, the Amenhoteps were the destroyers of the Hyksos. These Hyksos, they fled and went to the, to all places like Petra and all of these desert places, and eventually they became mixed with the Khazarians from the east. And it's the Khazarians that merged this Freemasonic Khazarian Rothschild side that mixed with the Jesuit Vatican and London control system through church and propaganda, and they married up in 1823. And since then, the forces of evil and demonic power on the earth have increased. But rest assured, it's not coming from on high. It's coming from men. It's coming from man himself, especially these elite pimps who control everything.
Now, 1823 was at the end of the Napoleonic Wars when the Rothschilds solidified their financial power in London?
Yep. And Karl Rothschild went down to Naples, and you've got that famous painting of Charles Rothschild and the Pope bowing down, or vice versa, and kissing the hand of Rothschild. And that was the day they signed a pact. And all of the Rothschild wealth that they stole of England and through all the wars with America, the Vatican repossessed, and they worked together. So Freemasonry and the Jesuits have been working together since then. They truly are two separate hands, two separate forces, but they do not work opposed to each other. It appears that way. Ostensibly they do, but essentially they do not, man. It's just one beast controlling the whole lot, and it's all to do with Saturn and Kronos and time. You see, they understand how time works. We don't. We believe in this illusion of time, temporal existence. And so anyone who believes in it, they're fair game, man. They're fair game. Those types walk into court and get themselves into jail real easy like. And the bar know this, that's all the world is a stage. And if you're hiding behind a mask, well, you're going to be punished according to the rules of that mask. Unless you are self-determined and you show that by evidences, certain things you say, certain things you do, well, you ain't gonna get out of there lightly. You will have to pay the ferment eventually.
And this is where the whole trap of legalese comes in, right?
Yeah, legal and lawful. These are two different creatures altogether. Legal comes from a Latin word to bind, legare. I've always said the L and the R are interchangeable. So if you have legare with an R, that means to bind. And if you remove that R and you put an L on there in Latin, legale, you've got legal. It's exactly the same word with an E on the end of it. That's how the Italians say it, with an E on the legale. But in English it's legal, legal. It comes from Latin, right? So it's the same word. It's hiding there. It's exactly the same word. It means to bind, to legare, to tie, And so to tie together, and that's what the fasci of Rome is all about. And so how that binding happens is like in such a manner. When Jesus says to Peter, I'll give you the keys to the kingdom. Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you unleash or undo on earth shall be undone in heaven, or released.
Again, the interconnectedness of all things.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus is the Son, or Jupiter, and Peter is Jupiter. So the archetypes, doesn't matter which one you choose. It's Jupiter, it's the Sun, it doesn't matter.
some people will argue that, yeah, but all of them, or they all go back to Atum. Every archetype, everything goes back to Atum. So when Jesus says to Jew Peter, this is why we have the Church of St. Peter and we pay Peter's pence, all the way back to the donation of Constantine when Sylvester drew up that papal bull, drawing up the fact that Jesus told Peter that, well, you can collect money because whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, blah, blah, blah. And so we are the vicars of Christ and we are the successors of Peter, blah, blah, blah. We're Rome and here's the donation of Constantine. And guess what? Everybody has to pay taxes for Peter. Well, this is how the bar are collecting money through the crown and paying Peter's pence. It's the Church of Peter. Peter is also Petra. And Petra means stone. So everything, the stone world that Rome built, the churches, those are the churches of Petra, Peter, of stone. And so that structure is physical. And so they collect money for that physical structure to keep that physical structure going. And so they can keep their demonic entities as our overlords. Because we believe in that stuff. We think that their stone buildings actually have to do with spirituality and the truth. Whereas, no, they're using those buildings to hide the truth and to harvest bad energy rather than, for good. Originally, the Masons built churches, from astrological and astronomical archetypes and, configured all their buildings in the shapes of constellations. But and they were good and channeled good energy. But now it's totally a different thing. But again, some of it is necessary. From evil come good things. From a fire in the bush comes new regeneration. It's a total transformation. So basically, whether they work for good or for evil, the final outcome is the same for you anyway. It is because you and I, because we have not ever gone beyond the point of no return in practicing evil, because that is truly the point of no return, and that you can never reclaim your soul ever again, and that is dangerous. And one or two or even more, without being judgmental of the Vatican types and those bar types, they definitely have gone beyond the point of no return. Hence, you see them continuing in their evil. They know that they're being exposed daily, but they continue. The ones that continue, rest assured, man, they will be judged, either by their peers or by the heavens or by themselves, but they will end up in jail or on a guillotine. They will. All of them will. Every one of them, not one of them. So the ones that you see coming good, those are the ones that were good and are on the side of good. The ones that you see that are callously indifferent and continue in their murder and bloodshed and money changing, these prostituters, their souls will disintegrate. Unfortunately, they will never be able to save their souls because they've done too many acts of evil. Doesn't matter what you've done that's evil. If you repent and you do get on the path, it's all reclaimable. But there is a point of no return. There truly is. And you must never, ever dare go near that point.
That all makes sense.
Yeah, well, we know that we haven't because we're here having this conversation. No one has a conversation in pure daylight about the light and about truth that is not going to be vested in that truth one day. These are just glimpses of more truth that we will be possessed of, and that we will live. We will live in the body of truth. It is the soul of God. And God is we the people. You see, it is ridiculous to think that we are not identical to God, and it is ridiculous to think that God is not vested in all of his atoms. And that he does not refract and differentiate into all things. The Spirit of God, the One, is the all. That's why the Muslims say Allah. Allah is God. Well, we say all is good. That's the same expression, brother. Those are the same words. No difference.
This is all the interconnectedness again.
Yeah, it is, because there's only one language. So Allah is God must mean all is good. It is, and it does. And not only because when you reach a certain level of linguistic, and, you know, I'm not trying to be smarty pants here saying you've got to be a good, you know, show off in languages. It's not about that. It's when you truly, truly understand what the sound of L means as opposed to the sound of R or T. When you truly understand what those letters are doing, they are archetypal gods, and they are charged with emotion. Charged. If I said to you, you know, some cussing words, and I called you a son of a, you could potentially be hurt for a week or a day or 10 minutes. But if I hurled some numbers at you, like, you know, take this, 146, you prick, you know, or 75, there you go, you animal, I hate you, 46, you know, you're not going to transmit much emotion, right? But when you learn what L is doing, love, light, luminescence, Lord, and then you go looking for it in other languages, then you know that Allah is God and all is good is exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Islam is Christianity. Christianity is Judaism. Judaism is Hindu. There is only one syncretic truth in the universe. It's atomic. It's the ecliptic. Those are the three words you need to take you to the everlasting. Syncretism, ecliptic, and atum. There's no other words you need. Those are the only words. If you love those words, they will love you and teach you all things.
And when you're doing evil, you're actually hurting yourself.
Yeah. Evil, you see, love and evolution are the same word. Love backwards is evolution. So evil also comes from Eve. Eve is even numbers. That's all it is. All the gods are numbers. It's all numbers. The world is number. So Eve is the number 2, even, and Adam is odd numbers. The number 1, atom, means one. Atum, one unit. Adam, right? So Adam and even. So you've got the number 1, unity, and you've got the number 2, duality. Adam and Eve. Eve, see, the number 2 is funny kind of a, it's the most loved and hated number of all the numbers, bar none. It has more polarity than any other number, simply because between 1 and infinity, it's the only place where doubling occurs. Never again is there doubling. So Eve, she's the multiplier. She's the mother of all her children in the universe. She is the mother because it's 2. It multiplies. But, you see, Adam, he was pretty happy in the Garden of Eden when he was all alone. Eden, garden, Eden, golden, dungeon, done. All of these DN or DM words, they must have a T and a D or a D and an M, okay? So when Adam was alone, he was happy. Then Even comes along and stuffs it all up and everything is divided. Because, see, 2, in its positive aspect, is the multiplier. But, on the other hand, in its negative, it's the divider. 2 divides. All even numbers are divisible, right? So 4, 2 and 2. 6, 3 and 3. Whereas the masculine numbers, 1, odd numbers, Adam, they are unifying. They don't divide. They bring things into unity. 3 is a sacred trinity, brings unity to the world. 1 is the extreme example of unity. 5 is the same. It does not divide. 7, the perfect number. 9, the 9th heaven. See all these odd numbers, how much glory they have. No, same with the even numbers, but they also carry a negative charge with them, simply because of that dividing. And so, but very positive for doubling. So, when we understand, as Pythagoras says, and Proclus syncretized all theologies by saying that they are all archetypal numbers. It's all numbers, you know. Once you understand their numbers, then you'll understand their letters. A will always be the first. It will always be number one. A. A man. How many men is a man? It's only one. A. And you don't say A. Never say the vowels in the very unphonetic English way. A, E, I, O, U. Those are diphthongs. The true vowels are A, E, I, O, U. I was confused there because I went to the 5-vowel system. There are actually 7 vowels. There's 2 E's and 2 O's. And this is the true sound of the name of God, these 7 vowels. A, E, I, O, U. Those are the 7 vowels. The 2 missing ones, because there are 2 E's. One has an acute accent above it, and it's A. You pronounce it as in A, as in at. At the show, at, right? But A, above, that's the letter A. That's the number 1. E, with an acute accent on it, is A, as in at. E, with a grave accent on it, is E. E. Okay, as in etymology, right? So there are 2 E's, A and E. But A is the true pronunciation for A.
What's that deriving from? What language?
English, it's all languages, all of them. All of them have these 7 vowels, all of them. A, E. Sorry, let me do it slow. If I do it too fast, sometimes I trip myself up. I'll do this for the recording and people can, revisit it. A, E, I, O, U. And that's A, E, I, O, U. Now, the first E has an acute accent on it. The second one has a grave accent on it. And the 2 O's, it's the same thing. The first O has an acute accent. That's the accent that goes backward slash. That's the backward slash on your computer, right? When you see one of those on top of a letter, the backward slash, that's called an acute accent, right? When you see a forward slash, a very small forward slash on top of an O or an E, that's called the grave accent. And those are the vowels, the 7 vowels. And so what you will see then is that the mind, numbers, vested in emotion, letters, working together, gematria or geometry, sacred geometry, create the mind and emotion or mind and matter universe that we live in. And so when you see these numbers 12 and 7 everywhere in nature, you can rest assured that they are planetary, and all of them go back to the prototype of all prototypes, Saturn, the chief of all the gods, the father of the gods. I mean, Jupiter came along and castrated Saturn, and then he became the god of gods. Of course, the Greeks say Zeus, god of gods, and the Romans, Jupiter, god of gods. But really, he is the son of old man time. Because, see, Jupiter defeated Kronos in that Rhea put him in a blanket and saved him. So out of the principle of time, you see, Saturn represents time that swallows up everything that is born in time. There's always one principle that defeats Saturn's power, and that is the principle of Zeus, the child of Saturn, which allows the demiurgos mind to impress itself on matter and make material forms. That's why Jupiter is the god of gods, but Saturn is the god of gods, and then his daddy Uranus is the god of gods. It depends on what level you're talking about, and it truly does. It truly does, and you've got to have knowledge of syncretism and the sciences, and you can't just belong to one church and exclude all the other churches, because you'll never know. You'll only know one, school or aspect of the truth. You won't know all the truth. You will forever be learning but never coming to an accurate knowledge of truth. And you don't want to be on that boat, man. We need syncretism. It's time to preach syncretism from the rooftops and get it out there. That's why, I've agreed to do this show, because I'd prefer to be sitting home alone, meditating and enjoying my newly found mystical oneness that gives me so much bliss and insights, and every day the downloads are just getting greater and greater. But, I have to balance that between my love for my brothers and wanting to help them to know what I know and to come out of the darkness and the gloom and to be saved and enlightened and illumined. Because, otherwise there is truly no hope to be groping around in the darkness. These luminaries, these planets, they are portals and doorways to great illumination, and we need to respect them for that, pay them some respect, and at least notice their support of all of our opinions and beliefs anyway, not to discount them. These people who poo-poo astrology, for instance, because it's from the devil and it's a pseudoscience, it'll pay them. It will sincerely and deeply benefit them to look at the testimonies of astrology and see what they've got to offer to help them in their path to illumination, because certainly and absolutely all things support one thing. And so diversity and separateness is a disease. It's a malady. It's incurable in some cases, but unity is always there, bringing them together and joining them forever. The glue of the universe, which is truth, the soul of the universe, the soul of God, truth, and we are swimming in it. Some have drank of the cup of Lethe more than others, and hence are more opinionated than others. But if their hearts are good, they will swing to the correct polarity, and that will change. I was a churchgoer, condemning Baptists and Mormons alike, being a Jehovah's Witness for 30 years, but I came out of it. So if I can be saved from that, others can too, and not that it's anything, so evil, but it's just not, it's a stage. Church going is a stage. It's the second lowest stage in your spiritual evolution that there is. But it also is, it also contains the seeds and the blueprints of the highest stage. All of the Christian churches are syncretized. They are all dealing with electrical science. All of their saints, Saint Anthony, Saint Paul, Saint Mary, these are all electrical archetypes. There's different conditions of electricity everywhere in the universe, but they are all the gods. It's all electricity, and electricity is number, vibration. And the secret lies in the number 7 and the number 12. Tesla said 369. Well, it's the same thing. They're all vested in these two numbers. When you look at the flower of life, in the middle is one circle, and then surrounding it is 6. So that's your 7. Mm-hmm. Then surrounding the 6 is 12. And so 7 and 12, 7 and 12, the flower of life. The 12 surround the 7 and enclose the 7, because the universe is spiritually 12 in mind, in its mental form, and in its physical form, it goes back to the octave, the septenary, 7. So, the flower of life teaches this. What else teaches it? Well, carbon-12 teaches it. The isotope, which is the most common in the universe, 99% of carbon, is carbon-12. The dodecahedron, which is the master polyhedra of the 5 polyhedra, is 12. And it has to do with ether, the element which precedes fire, air, earth, and water. And fire is the tetrahedron, earth is the hex, air is the octa, and water is the icosahedron. So what is the master? Dodeca, 12. So you've got carbon 12. You've got, you've got the dodecahedron shape of the universe we live in. Everything is of dodecahedron. It's the master polyhedra of the universe. We've got the number 12 of the ecliptic. Every ecliptic, which is everything that has ever existed, period, has had an ecliptic. Hence, it goes through 12 30-degree segments along that wave. And those are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. And forever in the universe there is this pattern of 12, 12 and 7, 12 and 7, mind and matter, mind and matter. And these two dance eternally, Adam and Eve, and produce all the phenomenal world that we live in, and all the effects therein. So we can rejoice that we understand these numbers. The more you understand numbers, the more you will understand the science of syncretism, and the more you will grow in the science of syncretism. It's all about numbers, brother. Go first to the numbers, and also secondary to the letters. But they are one and the same. It's just that the numbers have a sound, and those are the letters. Simple. But the number 1 always has that sound, ah, 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 ah. And so these archetypes, and so if you go along the English alphabet, there's 26 letters, but if you put just 9 numbers, so the first 9 letters will be A to I. I is the 9th number. J is back to 1. Although it's the 10th letter of the alphabet, 0 and 1 are 1, reduced to 1, so J goes back to 1, you see. So A, J, and S all have the value of 1. Those are your 1 numbers in the English language. A, J, and S. Atum, Jehovah, and Satan. And these are the archetypes of 1. Satan is atom. So it's the same thing. Atan or Saturn. And then you've got Jiva, Jehovah, the J. These letters are all 1. They will always be 1. J will always be 1, always. It will never have any other value. The J, the Yod in Hebrew, 10, J. And same with the S. The S is 1. That's its true home. S is the sound of 1. It breathes. It's the third power of 1. A is the first power of 1. J is the second power of 1. And so, and then B is both. Binary, 2. And in all languages, B is always defining 2, expressing 2, releasing 2, and so on and so forth. And once you understand this, nothing will stop you. Nothing will stop you on your path. You will know all things. It's the numbers and the letters that are on the ecliptic, and the ecliptic is the true path of enlightenment. I'm about to present and release 22 PowerPoint presentations on YouTube soon. The first one will be Atomic Language. 250 pages on PowerPoint presentation on evidence supporting this teaching that all is Atum, and supporting. So basically, I'm not making this is not dogmatic or doctrine or anything. It's just supporting evidence to the expression all is Atum, to test whether the Egyptians were right or whether they were wrong. Okay, so someone can come along and create, 250 pages of evidence against my evidence, but at least that's all I'm presenting, and I think I have enough. But for those minds that require more proof, well, then I'm going to release 21 more, and 22 is a catch number, catch 22. It's deliberate. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, 22 cards in the major arcana, 22 amino acids. The list goes on and on. It's deliberate I did this because I'm going to treat it as a complete, offering of truth that I possibly can, and I hope that after that I feel in my heart of hearts that I can really just be a hermit or whatever. I'm struggling with that because I realise the need to work on myself, and you can only do that in silence and in true contemplation, where you make leaps and bounds. And so, all of this radio shows and PowerPoint presentations that I'm doing are necessary, but my hope is that I can have a bit of a rest one day.
When are you releasing the first?
I'm going to try and release the introduction part tomorrow on YouTube of Atomic Language, because the 20th of Cancer is where my North Node is, on the 27th degree of Cancer. So there's only 3 more degrees of Cancer left, 3 more days, and the 20th is smack bang on that point. And then Leo is my ascendant rising sign, so I'm going to try and release as much as I can in the next couple of months.
And what is the name of your YouTube channel?
Mr. Astrotheology.
Awesome. Figure we should get that out there.
Please do. Yeah. That's where I've got all my volumes of presentations supporting all of this and giving references to support it. Many, many thousands and thousands, all lost and hidden away in all of the hundreds of presentations and shows that I've done. I've never, ever done a repeat show. I've never, ever done the same material in any show, because there's enough in syncretism to do, a billion different kinds of shows, and that's what I intend to do. I will never, ever repeat a sentence in any show that I do. It's all different. It's all the presentations have treasures from antiquity and from modern days hidden in them that will only pop up if you press play on those videos. I say to people, just watch the videos, man. Because the delivery and the way the information is presented is very, very palatable and easy to digest. It's very easy. There's no highfalutin words. There's no complicated systems. It's just, common language, common sense, and just down to earth. Here's the nuts and bolts and the truth of it. And so, I beg people and urge them, watch the presentations, man. Watch them while they're online now.
Watch while you can.
Yeah, they will lead you to the path. You will be on the path when you know the ecliptic. And unfortunately, as far as the ecliptic is concerned, I'm probably the only one that really is dealing with it holistically and syncretically and properly as it should be. There are others. There's many great other syncretists, but you have to do it with the ecliptic. It's the ecliptic and nothing else. There's no other big toe. There's no other way. No other way. It's all about the number 12. Tesla was right. 3, 6, 9, 12. That's it. And I can do another show if you want. I would love to spend it on the number 12.
Absolutely.
And instead of Saturn, I would like to focus on his daddy Uranus, because Uranus's cycle is 84 years. That's 7 times 12. 84 equals 12. 2 and 1 reduced to 3. Uranus's archetype is the number 3. He is the quintessential savior of the universe. He is the 8th sphere beyond us, and he is the sphere of the heavens. In other words, all the stars are in his sphere, and that is the firmament. Above our heads is a firmament, and above that is the waters above, and that is Neptune. Neptune controls the waters above. So we're in a dome. We're in a sphere, man. There's a dome above your head. When you see blue sky, that's a dome. That's water up above your head. Those are the waters above. And Uranus rules the firmament, which is a glass, sort of a crystal structure. It's called the firmament, and in those are the stars. The stars are in the firmament, and the zodiac and all of those. And that is slipping contrary to the ecliptic. And that's Uranus is responsible for that, and there's a reason why that's happening. But beyond Uranus then is the water,
which is called the crystalline sea, and then Pluto rules the primum mobile, which is the first sphere. There are 10 spheres. Kabbalah teaches this in the 10 Sephiroth. And so Pluto is the outer ring, then Neptune, the waters, the psychic waters of Neptune, and Poseidon is his Greek name, and then is Uranus, and he rules the firmament. And that firmament is where we are headed. That's the Milky Way is there. It's all there. And we actually, Uranus deals with the mind and numbers, and Neptune deals with letters and emotion, our emotional nature, and Pluto is simply the representative of spirit, death and destruction, true spiritual existence. Pretty much like Saturn. Pluto and Saturn are very, very similar, man. Pluto does the job of Saturn on a higher plane, but they are both very dark orbs and very salvific in their work. And these are the 10 heavens. You can do a 7 system or a 10 system heaven above. 7 is the physical planets inside the dome. Dome is an atomic word because Dominus, the Lord, is the dome that we live under, and it is the sun. Adom. Everything is dome, man. Everything. When you see that word which you will when you see my presentation, you will understand why all is atum. The whole universe is made of atoms. You have an anatomy. You have your body is in the shape of a tomb, like the cathedral, in the shape of a T, the Celtic cross, and that's all there is, man. That's the mold of matter is the cross, spirit and matter. And so what we find is that once we escape the 7, Elohim, the tyrants, then we are in a higher octave of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and basically we are in control of our minds, and we have the universal mind rather than the individual intellectual type, the sophist type that really commercializes wisdom and doesn't know how sacred wisdom is. So what we have to do is rise above this this octave that is controlled by Saturn. That in that capacity, Saturn is evil.
And is that what the elite, they're trying to do to us?
Absolutely. Everything they do is in the knowledge of how the system works. They know what Saturn does. They know everything he stands for and every work of his in creation, whether it be in their bodies, whether it be in politics, in finance, in spirituality, in buildings, in plants, in herbs. They know that archetype exists. He's one of the 7 archetypes of physical creation that exists and gives structural life to things. Hence, when a child is born in time, he is born in atom, in Saturn's world. That is a temporal world. Tempo, time, chronos. It's all the same thing. And so they see bodies in this temporal world, and they have, because they have this pole and bent and inclination to parasite of other beings, they enslave people immediately because they are fair game if they sign on the dotted line. Signing is sinning. Sinners suffer the consequences of signing. Always. You always suffer the consequences of signing. In this system, you can only own things through the legal name. Titles, like property, cars.
Right.
They are all registered, right? So it all belongs to the Crown. So really it does. It belongs to old man time. Your car, if it's registered, is registered to the Regis. Who's the Regis? Oh, well, that's Saturn. He's the king. He's the only one with the crown, with the chakras, the rings. So, as all the great poets said, they always attributed this crown to Kronos. They said, do not forget that only Saturn wears the crown. He is Kronos. He wears the crown. He's the king. So, your car is registered, bad luck. It's not yours. You don't own it. The crown does. Your home, your land, all acquired through the false idol, the false image, the legal name, and so it's all false. You don't own it.
Well, you can't
It's
own
all
anything
false.
because they own you.
That's right, brother. Exactly. It's usufruct. Use the fruit. It's a usufruct system. There is no such thing as ownership. No such a thing. It doesn't even exist. The concept is not even... You can't even conceive of such a thing, of ownership. And yet there are people saying, I own, that's my property. And they go to court saying it. I require the restitution of my property, or whatever. You know, and the bar pedophiles, they grant it because they want the illusion of property ownership to continue. And all these imbeciles are still, I require the restoration of my property. I've got some property. We don't have any property. We don't even have a biology. We have nothing. We are. That's all. We have is not part of it. What we do have is virtues. That's what we do have. That is our property. That's true property. Virtues, wisdom, but not things. It's not even bodies of things. That's impossible. Those are fleeting. Those belong to Kronos. That's why they get your children's soul to be sold to Satan when you put their footprint on the birth certificate, which specifically tells you plain and clear, Crown copyright. Not you. You didn't copyright it. Kronos did. So all of these bodies, whatever, entities that own shit, they belong to Timmy. It's Timmy and Tommy, man. And see, as I said to you before, atom means unity, but Tom, what does Thomas mean? It's an Aramaic word. It's pretty universal. There's the tomb of Thomas, St. Thomas in India. There's St. Thomas in the town my father was born in Italy, San Tommaso. There's the month of Tammuz, which is the Jewish month of Cancer, the sign we're in right now. It's called Tammuz. There's all of this Tom. You know what Tom means? Well, it must mean the opposite of unity, of atom, because the alpha privative in Greek deprives the following word of its true meaning. So Tom must mean what all the dictionaries, etymological dictionaries, tell us. It means twin. Thomas the twin. Thomas Didymus. Dimmus. Dim means twin. Dim means light that is dim because it's red and blue. It's not white light. It's dimmed. And that's what dim and Tom and Dom and atom and Saturn, it's all about conditions of light. And that's why drummers play their tom-toms. Because it's atoms, it's atomic, it's sound, tom-tom, tom-tom. That's why your heart has a thymus gland attached to it, and it's a twin gland, because it's the Thomas gland. And that's why your heart is dominus, because when you listen to it in meditation, it says, dum-dum, dum-dum, dum-dum. You listen to anyone's heart, and there it is. There's the dum. That's why they said in India, all is Your body, the sound of your body is telling you, your heart is speaking to you the words of Om. Because every day there's 21,900 beats and breaths. That's breaths. But I think the heartbeats are 25,820, the processional number, every day. And so, dum dum, dum dum, dum dum, but we're not listening. And dum means twin, because atom means unit, one. And all there is in the universe is a oneness and a duality. 1 and 2, the number 12. The whole universe is 12, period. 12 is the perfect way to describe the universe if you're going to have one thing to describe it. Or the number 7. Take your pick.
Is there a significance that red and blue make purple?
Yep, of course there is. Absolutely. And the opposite of green is magenta, which is purple, really. Red and blue, your bottom chakra, of the bottom of your torso is red, right? And the top, where your throat is, the top of your torso, that chakra is blue. See, because red is the letter R and blue is all about the letter L. And both of those can be found in atom, the proton and the electron. Because there are three things that are born from atom. The neutron, the proton, and the electron. See, these two letters that can be prolonged, R, L, these are called liquids. The R is called the rhotic liquid, and the L is called the lateral liquid. These are consonants that have specializations. And see, the proton must have an R in it, and the electron, its opposite, must have an L. The letter R, see, proton is really pyroton. You've got to insert the Y. Pyro is fire.
Mm.
The L in electron, that's liquid. That's water. L, liquid. Liquid. And land, earth. So your electron is doing all of the emotional things. That's your emotional archetype inside of atom. And the R is the mental archetype. The letter R is the 18th letter of the alphabet, 666. The letter L is the 12th letter of the alphabet, 6, 6. L, therefore, is the circ L, the circumference of L. Everything to do with L has to do with circles. Cycle, circle, final, kill, final. Well, I just said that, but all of these words that end with L, because L is the perfect number. It's 12. It's 12ness. It is the complete number of celestial divinity, 1 plus 2. And so the proton and the electron, see, 12, L, the letter L is 12, so it is the representative of the 3, 6, 9, 12 system of Tesla, and the letter R reverts back to the 9, because it's the 18th letter, and half of 18 is 9, but double 18 plus 18 is 36, hence 360. So the letter R in the proton and the letter L in the electron, the two chief archetypes, and this is Israel, by the way, the neutron, the proton, and the electron. Isis is neutral light, white light. She's the virgin because white light doesn't vibrate. Red light, the proton, radiation, and the electron, L, the letter L, luminescence, radiation and luminescence, the creators of the world, red and blue. These are Israel, you see. No matter what science you're dealing with, you will find this trinity. You will find these archetypes. You know, they won't elude you. And so Israel, red, white, and blue, you see all your flags. Look at the Union Jack. Jack is short for Jacob, the son, Israel. Jacob changed his name to Israel when he fought with the angel and won, and the angel said, "You shall now be called Israel." So the Union Jack is the Union Jacob. What you see with those colours, red, white, and blue, is a profound teaching, because this is the sun, this is the cross of Constantine, the labarum, which is the sun travelling through the equinoxes and the solstices. That's all it is. And it's called the labarum, labracadabra, because the same pattern you see on the Union Jack is at the Vatican pavement of St. Peter's Square.
Yes.
And you'll see, if you look at a 10-minute YouTube video called Christianity Revealed, Sun Worship, Christianity Revealed is the name of the YouTube video. I recommend everybody watch that 10 times, and then you'll get it. And look at the Union Jack, and you'll understand what Jack is. Jack, be nimble, Jack, be quick, Jack, jump over the candlestick. The candlesticks are the equinoxes. When the sun jumps over them, we rejoice. We celebrate Christmas, Easter, Ramadan, Tishri, Yom Kippur. They all happen when the sun jumps over, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, when he jumps over the candlesticks of the equinoxes and the solstices in the tropical signs. Aries, the Lamb of God, Cancer, the scarab of Christ, Libra, the scales of justice, and Capricorn, the sacrificial goat of salvation. And so these are the four sacred the signs, and this science is the science of how we come in and leave, because these four signs are portals. Cardinal signs. These are the four cardinal signs, the tropical signs, because they're always situated on the tropics. Aries and Libra on the equinoxes, vernal and autumnal. Cancer at the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn at the Tropic of Capricorn. These are the wave amplitude now. This is unbalance. Aries and Libra, they balance the wave. They're equinoctial. But these four cardinal signs, they have all the force of the ecliptic in them, 50% of it. 30% goes to the fixed signs, and 20% goes to the mutable signs, which are the weakest. The fixed signs, Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius, these are weaker than the cardinal signs. Cardinal signs are first and the strongest. And so they are the portals. And what are portals? Well, that's what the ancients told us, that at Cancer, at the solstice, is the gateway of men. Souls come into our solar system when the sun is in Cancer. And the Tropic of Capricorn was called the gateway of the gods. Well, Saturn rules Capricorn, and we come into incarnation through the rings of Saturn, go all the way through the seven heavens, through the earth, through the moon, the last one, onto the earth. Then when we've exhausted our selfhood and our desire to be an individual, then we return to the universal and we climb that ladder. And Saturn's the last one waiting for us, man. And if we don't got the currency that he requires for ascension, we fall back down that ladder, man, rung by rung. And we come back, and the moon, besides, I mean, if we haven't got the right currency, the moon she's the prima donna, she's the letter A, she's the number one. She will not let you go beyond her rings. That's why people who are souls that have bounced back to reincarnate are called monsters and demons. Deities of the moon, moon stars, monsters, demons. Oh, he's a monster. His mother was lovely, but her son, he's a monster. He's a demon. Well, yes, because that soul that was born in the womb of a good woman and became a thief and a killer and a murderer was bounced back by the moon to become a monster and a demon. The teachings tell us that. Pinocchio teaches that. What happened to his friends? Ulysses, what happened to his friends? They were turned into swine. Probably because they're eating swine. Who knows? In the end, you are what you eat. Why do we say you are what you eat? Because it's true. If you eat swine, you are a swine. There's no looking good at a French cafe when you're eating, pig's bum called bacon and eggs. There's no looking good at all. There's nothing at all. A philosopher will laugh at you. A mystic will know where you are. You are in prison, in hell, in a murderous, lustful, painful situation. You are. Anyone you see eating pork, anyone, rest assured they are miserable, depressed, and in severe, all kinds of trouble, full of parasites. There are so many worms and grubs and parasitic entities that live in pork flesh. For a start, just buy yourself a microscope for a start, and get that one behind you. But eating pork is the lowest. It's worse than cannibalism. I think a cannibal is more dignified than anything that eats pork. Pork is just truly, truly, truly disgusting. And the Roman elites put human DNA in some of those domestic types of pork. Clearly you can see it. Their organs and skin is so similar to the DNA of humans. Yeah. And basically all of these people that have bacon and eggs for breakfast. They're just basically they're eating their own kind. So they're not only swine, but they're cannibals. This is sad. This is so cruel. My heart goes out to these people that are eating meat, and my heart goes out and I cry for them. But at the same time, I let them go. I've eaten meat all my life up until 7 years ago. I've done injurious things. I've done bad things. I've done things I regret. So I'm allowing myself to have done those things. I will allow anyone else. I love them much the same, just the same. There's no hate. There's just urgency. And the truth must be told. We must change what we eat. Because if you are what you eat, well then, if you're eating blood, well then, was that animal killed? Yes or no?
Of course it was.
Did it die? Right. And have you inquired, flesh eater, as to whether that animal was fulfilling its predestined or perceived purpose that it had? For instance, that little calf that gives you those nice veal steaks, that 1 month old calf that was snatched away from its loving mother as it was screaming as the farmers came along to sell it to the abattoirs so that the restaurants can be richened and made richer by murder, and the abattoirs and all the businesses in between, the businesses of Rome and her harlotry. Did one inquire as to whether that veal enjoyed being in its body? And did one inquire as to whether these cows and these sheep are to be murdered really for our better eating? Not enough bananas on the planet, apples, cherries, watermelons. You can stuff yourself like a glutton, like an absolute pig with just fruit alone. And you can do it. There are people that are just fruitarians, Then there's vegetables, there's seeds, there's nuts. No wonder Porphyry and Plutarch and Pythagoras and Ovid and all the greats said, when the animals are screaming when you're cutting their throats, don't you think just because their sound is not voiced, but they have, they don't have speech, but they have voice, don't you think that they are trying to tell you that they would rather be alive? And are they not saying, I do not begrudge you your better eating, but your eating, but I do begrudge you your better eating, for do you not have bounty of fruits and vegetables that the sun provides for you? Why is it that we have to do these unnatural things? We have to cut the animals up with tools, kill them with tools, cook them with tools, and put them into our mouths with tools. We don't pick them up with our fingers. Oh no, we got knives and forks. We're so sophisticated with this bloody murder that we put into our intestines. Imagine what good it's doing to you. There's not a vegetarian that belongs to any army on this planet. I can promise you that with all my heart. There's not one. Because when you become a vegetarian, you ain't going to be a soldier and kill and murder and anything. You will not hurt a fly. You will never hurt a fly. You will let the spiders and all of them, live to an extent. You might be forced one day to have to protect yourself by killing some deranged, animal, and that's acceptable. But these things are reasonably acceptable. But everything in its perspective. If we support the culture of murder, and please, I invite any persistent and determined meat eater who is listening to this, just go and spend 5 minutes at an abattoir, a good one. Don't worry about the bad ones. Go and see how some of those chickens are going, and the geese in France that have got tubes connected to their throats and tied and locked with lock and key so that they can never, ever, ever remove these geese that are so fat that blood is oozing out of their anus perpetually, and their livers are so plump that the French love this pâté, and the geese that are chained from the moment they're born till they die so that the French can have plenty of pâté. Oh, it's nice pâté. And these geese have... Imagine you're born, right, and someone comes and shoves a tube down your throat and continually thrust sludge down your throat just so that they can have a byproduct of your pain. And that pâté is full of pain.
And all of those meats and steaks that we're eating in this Saturnian world is full of pain and anguish and injections and all kinds of disgusting evil things. And don't we ever for one moment think that there are unscrupulous people that are designing all this by design so that we can remain stupid and blind in perpetuity so that we can be harvested for our energy? And would that be why we are paying taxes and rates and levies and fines and money, and everyone and our pensioners are starving to death and they want more care, Obamacare from us, and they want more money from us, and prices keep going up and up and up, and all of it goes back to fill the coffers of the Rothschilds and the Vatican and to support pedophilia, because it's a good business when you're sodomizing little children and hurting them so that they can be traumatized forever and harvested forever. It's time in that we wakey, I think, and so syncretism answer. There's only one answer. It's not going to come from Islam. It's not going to come from Christianity, and yet it will if it's syncretized. That's my message, bro. Hope you like it.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And it should be all of our messages, all of our message, because this is the truth that is in every one of us, our hearts. There's no one that doesn't speak what I'm speaking, really, from their hearts. Everyone resonates with this. Everyone does. I would be hard-pressed to find anyone who would just hate what I'm saying, And yet there are people out there, there are shills out there who are truly, truly trying to distract people from syncretism.
I think there's a lot of distraction going on right now.
Yeah, man. That's how putrid these shills are. Truly, truly know the truth, guys. Be responsible and get on the path. You are what you eat. Start with that. Whatever you put in, whatever you eat mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically is what you are. So if you start at the base with your food and eating more raw food, because raw food has the vital life force in it. Cooked food does not, man. From cooked food comes depression, anger, hatred, violence, wars, killing, because we're cooking the food. The food is angry now. You see, you can just put any kind of instrument, measuring instrument, on a banana that is raw and one that's cooked, and you'll see the auric field, how much it suffers, and the colour change and the loss of vitality. These are devitalized foods. So I would start there and then reach up to the mystical heights of syncretism and learn it, know it, practice it, live it and breathe it. And absolutely the ultimate reward will be liberation from material pain and suffering and eternal bliss in the everlasting unconditioned.
Well, I think this was an incredible message you put out tonight, and I encourage everyone to go to your YouTube channel and look for your new material coming out. And thank you so much for doing this. And if you want to do a show on Uranus, absolutely welcome to.
Done. Next one. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure.
See you, brother.
Take care, man. That was an absolutely fantastic show. And I hope you take what he said to heart and look into the material. That's it for this episode. We'll see you soon.